Hi, this is Marcielle Brandler, Professor Emeritus of English, and I'm going to talk to you about a wonderful guest. Her name is MarBeth Dunn, and she is an award-winning, best-selling author of Awaken the Healer Within, Overcome Stress, Anxiety, and Illness to Reclaim Your Power. That's the name of the book. Awaken the Healer Within. And MarBeth is a healer. The way I met her is I was on a global meditation that she produces and hosts, and it's international. We're all meditating for peace. And she's just this lovely, lovely lady. So I just had to have her on my show. So MarBeth helps individuals to reestablish the connection between their body and mind by teaching them to understand their body's language. That's so cool. With almost 20 years of experience, her techniques, known as intuitive energy mastery, have helped hundreds of clients overcome trauma, PTSD, stress, and anxiety. MarBeth was featured as a mentor in the movie Bernie's Journey, and as an expert in the upcoming films The Frequency of Miracles, and also The Art of Manifestation, and The Frequency of Longevity. Her signature method blends somatic intelligence, energy work, and spiritual insight, empowering others to heal from the inside out and create calm, clarity, and emotional resilience in everyday life. She's been featured on Fox, NBC, CBS, and the CW. And we will post her links in the notes below. So I really am excited to welcome the beautiful MarBeth Dunn. Oh my goodness, I have so many questions for you. I'm wearing my little Buddha jade
Nice.
necklace in your honor.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
so I'm so excited to have you here. This is such an honor to have the sweetest lady and so accomplished on so many levels of healing, and it's so important. And I wanted to ask you, what you're a happiness coach. What
Well,
do you?
that was back in 2013. I was the TV happiness coach.
Oh,
I was on different morning shows around the nation,
oh my
everywhere
God.
from Key West to the CW and TV. If you go on my website, MarBeth Dunn, you'll see some of the little snippets from the my 2013 year on TV. I could be on TV now if I wanted to travel to New York, if I wanted to travel to Atlanta. I have the connections. And, I did this whole training with Steve Harrison on, to be on his National Publicity Summit. And I met with people. You're going to do this world peace meditation in 2 weeks. And I said, can I have a little more time? And it was, nope, you're going to do it in 2 weeks. So at that point, I had a conference line, a telephone conference line where people could call in, very old school. And I had never done a Facebook Live. And I had enrolled people. I had a virtual assistant at that point, and she was amazing and, got all these people enrolled for this world peace experiment. And my conference line crashed on the day of. So I said, I just sent out an email will go on live on Facebook in 15 minutes. And I took my phone outside, set it up on a tripod, and I went live for the very first time. And that was the beginning, and it lasted for 6 months. And it was very it was definitely divinely ordained, and very similar to the works of Dr. Lynn Taggart and what's his name? Hagelin, Dr. Hagelin from the Transcendental Meditation movement, who is also a quantum physicist. And he had done similar meditations where they brought people in live to Washington, D.C., and set up very strict parameters, and the level of violence dropped 20% with all of these meditators who went there in person. But, for me, it was like minds can be joined. We don't have to be physically present. And so I had people in Japan and in Europe and all over the US and Canada, and I think some in Mexico. And so the first month, it was successful. We had independent statistics. We focused on the Middle East, and the independent statistics showed that the level of violence significantly, but I didn't want to stop. So I brought in a lot of other people to lead meditations, and I started conversations of peace with them to get them known throughout my list of my email. And it went on for 6 months. And with independent statistics from the ACLED, which is an independent organization that measures violence all around the world, their statistics showed violence against women dropped 39%. 39%. I'm going to say it one more time, 39%. And my VA kept telling me, she said, their statistics, your statistics are incredible. It was like 25%, but it felt like almost too much to believe. So I said 20%. But it was amazing. They measured all different types of violence. And it was pretty remarkable. I didn't really want to stop it, but we were moving. And, it was time to do that. But it was really, really amazing. Very
Wow,
gratifying.
that's really amazing. I Did you learn anything like, well, you did learn that violence dropped. And I studied David Hawkins, who wrote Power versus
Power
Force, and it's
versus
kind of the
force. Yeah.
same thing, that when we, and for me, I notice when I meditate for others, it imbues a stronger power in me for my, not only my empathic powers, but my powers of, like, when I'm driving on the freeway, I know when a car is coming and I better get out of the way. I can feel it. And
Sure.
I'm very intuitive. I've always been that way. And that's why I'm attracted to getting to know you, is that this is very important work, especially now. We desperately need our, all of us to come together, love one another, imbue our planet with love and health. And, so I love it that you're doing that. And I wanted to know what you were like as a child.
As a child, well, I was very empathic, and I didn't know what empathic was. I had been traumatized as a toddler because of my parents' marriage. My father basically traumatized my mother and me, and I think it started probably in the womb. So I became very aware of situations where I needed to be careful. Well, a prospective client on a Skype call. Now, Skype doesn't even exist anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was an audio call, and the guy was in Germany, and so he was just, it was a call to see whether we would be a good match to work together. And so when he got on the call, I just said, well, hello, Franz. How are you? What's going on with you? And as he started to talk, I'm an empath and I'm feeling this crushing feeling in my chest. So I had a notepad. I just wrote down that he was experiencing sadness and grief. And immediately that feeling left. And now I've got a stabbing pain under my left scapula, my shoulder, and I was like, oh, now he's feeling betrayed. And I wrote that down and that disappeared. Now I'm noticing that I'm getting a message from his body. His body is actively communicating with me what's going on with him. And I'm clearly paying attention now because I hadn't noticed this happening. It may have been happening before, but I had never been aware of it.
Yeah.
So now my solar plexus is in knots. And I thought, okay, he's got some relationship issues, power struggles, wrote it down, disappeared. And then I'm feeling his root chakra with a lot of rage. And I
Wow.
wrote it down. And by the time I got done and feeling all the emotions in his throat and all of this stuff, I had about maybe 8 different indicators of what was going on with this man who was calling me about something obviously not what he thought he was calling me about. So I said to him, I said, well, Franz, I'm an energy healer and your body's been communicating with me. Would it be okay if I sent you some energy? Some healing energy. And he said, sure, basically knock yourself out. This is a free call. And so I sent him, well, basically, I didn't know what to do at this point because this was a first. So I asked his body, what do you want me to do now? And it told me. And I did it. And I felt everything go click, 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 all the way down the line. And I was blown away because that is not the usual case. It doesn't usually go click, 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 and everything clicks like instantly. But that was the first time, and I guess that was a gift. And I really appreciated it. He appreciated it. It was really quite an amazing moment for me. And that was the
Wow.
birth of intuitive energy mastery.
Wow. How old were you then?
That was about 12 years ago.
Oh,
And
okay. So
yeah,
not that long.
it was, not in I didn't know I was an empath until about 20 years ago when I was
Oh,
becoming a Reiki master. I thought there was something wrong with me,
no.
that I couldn't go to parties without coming down with asthma attacks or, just feeling off because
Yeah.
I was taking on everybody's.
Absorbing everybody's stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, see, that happens to me, and it's interesting because I'm psychic, and I don't control it exactly, but like the first time I really realized it, and it also healed people. And people have said to me, the minute you touched me, the pain left my body, and it just
yeah,
happened like, and it was like the Holy Spirit came over me and
right.
pushed me. I fought it. I didn't want to get in anybody's business, but it was like, "Ooh," and pulling me. And the first time that I realized that I was psychic, and it was very quiet, and I didn't have anybody to talk to my whole life, nobody. But we're standing on the porch waiting for a ride, and I told my sisters, we are going to be in an accident for sure. I knew, and we were all knocked out, unconscious, and so it was and then a few years ago, um, I had a feeling, or it was about 10 years ago, I had a feeling that if you go there, there's going to be you're going to have a car accident. And I thought, wait a minute, why don't I meditate it away? I
Ooh,
said, I am safe, I am safe, I am safe. I'm fine. And I've noticed now when things like that come into my space, I protect myself. If it's a
right.
person who's a little scary and weird, I move gently away. I emit love. And, but now, and I remember I was lying in bed with a little, I've only had like teeny tiny headaches. And I think it's because I hadn't had any caffeine or whatever. I had a little tiny headache and I'm lying there and I had healed other people. And I'm saying, wait a minute, girl, why don't you bless yourself? You know? And so I went, okay. And I said, you are well, you're feeling great. Boom, went away. And
I love
so
it.
I can do it for myself.
Of
I've
course.
been healing all these other people. And
Of
they called me and
course.
they said, Marcielle, the cancer is gone. It's like, I don't know, but I was and they have to come to you in faith. Like they can't, my yoga teacher, she said, I said, would you like me to meditate for you for a man? And then I went to her and I said, how's it going? I've been meditating for you. And you know what she said to me? She said, well, it's not working, Marcielle. And I realized it's her own doubt, her own attitude, but it was kind of hurtful. So, have you ever had that experience where you are blessing someone and then they kind of slap you in the face with their negative beliefs?
Well, I don't work with people. I'm very careful about who I work with. And I'd always ask, is it okay? If they're skeptical or whatever, I don't necessarily work with them because we're powerful and our beliefs definitely matter. But like you, I am clairsentient where I receive information in my body before going somewhere. And so I've learned that if I'm getting a crushing feeling in my chest and that it's like, okay, I'm going somewhere. Do I need to protect myself? Do I need to clear the energy there before I go? And
Yes,
so I handle it that way. And so, the important thing is that we know that we feel safe within our bodies. And for me, I feel that my work is removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence within. That to
yes,
me
I love
is
that.
the actual healing. That's from A Course in Miracles. I didn't coin
Yes,
it.
yes, I know the Course in Miracles very well. That's lovely. Um, so you kind of mentioned this. How can caregivers protect their energy from being drained? That's a fantastic question. And I want
Right.
to understand
And
that.
when we protect ourselves, like I love the idea of having that post-it note on the mirror, just as a reminder, just to where you could have like your magic cloak around you that just reflects love and just, doesn't allow anything negative in.
Yeah, I like the
And
reflecting mirrors. I like that.
yeah, a disco ball,
Yeah,
your bubble.
yes.
And I find also that it's very lovely to place angels, ask angels. We all have so many hundreds of angels, to just to ask them to, while you sleep, to stay in the four corners of your room and keep the energy clean and pure. I
Oh, I
also
love
like
that.
if I'm going to be staying in a hotel or motel, I can clear the energy before I go, and I can ask the angels to do that for me
Oh, I
if I like.
love
But I
that.
have techniques for doing it that are, that are fun.
I
Um,
love that.
yeah, I love to play with energy. I love to work with energy. We are spiritual beings, but spirit and energy are pretty synonymous.
Yes, yes, that's so true. Um, Now, I didn't know if you wanted to talk about Haiti or not. Um,
Sure.
yeah,
I,
because
I went to Haiti with my husband. That's the past tense.
oh, cute.
And we went there to buy a sailboat, ended up living on a mountaintop for 7 years and then down near the beach. In total, around 17 years in Haiti. I was a painter. I was MarBeth of Haiti. And I did a children's book, which I can show
Oh
you.
my goodness, I didn't see that. Yeah, hold it up to the camera.
I'm trying here. There we go.
Yeah. Oh, it's disappearing. There. Oh,
Almost. There it
and
is.
what's it called?
The Wonderful Way Home.
The Wonderful Way Home. I'm gonna look for it so I can swipe it in. Oh, that's a lovely. And I noticed in Haiti you're with your daughters.
Yes, I have two daughters, and they were actually born on a former community of ex-Haight-Ashbury hippies that live in Tennessee called the Farm.
Oh,
And
how
my kids
cool.
were born there with midwives. It was a wonderful experience.
Oh my God, that's so cool. Well, um I am so glad I got to have you on my show. I want to ask you the most important question maybe of all. Any message that you have for our viewers?
Yes, I think it's important to remember, we seem like we are solid physical bodies, but the truth of who we are is that we are spiritual beings who are living in the physical body. Actually, the spiritual part of us is much larger. It's much grander than our physical form. And at that spiritual level, we are all one self, and we are all one united with our creator. And I think it's really important because when we become too anchored in our physical form, which is important, since we are having an earthly existence, without remembering who we are, we lose a very valuable part of who we are. I
Yes.
think it's important when we, like you mentioned before, when you would bless people around you, it comes back to you. It's a spiritual law that giving and receiving are the same when we're talking about blessings, when we're talking about ideas. And so when we bless other people, we bless our brothers and sisters, and that comes back to us, those blessings.
And I have one last question. What projects are you working on now?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that's very fun is I'm in a few movies, one of which is premiering later this month in Los Angeles, and it's called The Art of Manifestation. So I am an expert in that movie, and I'm with some amazing company. Uh, from like Dr. John DeMartini and Dr. Bruce Lipton, and just a host of
Oh,
other
I love Bruce Lipton.
amazing people. Yeah, and it's just very exciting. I'm really looking forward to the premiere. So I'll be flying out for that. So that's one project. And also, I I'm part of a studio where we are creating movies about world champion boxers. So stay tuned for that. So that is a
That sounds
project.
fun.
But on our 10 million for world peace, we have a monthly meditation. And yeah, so we're doing that. We did have a healing circle monthly last month, but we're coming up with something else for this year. And I'm teaching energy healing and empowerment techniques for small
Wow.
groups right now
Well,
at an
put me on
advanced
your
level, which is
list.
fun. All
Yeah,
right, let's talk about that.
yeah, that sounds so great. Well, MarBeth, thank you so much. It's been wonderful, wonderful. So, and people, this is Marcielle Presents. Down in the show notes, you will see information about MarBeth and me. And please like and join our podcast. We're going to have regular podcasts probably coming out every other Thursday. So we want you to be part of it. And it's Marcielle Presents Good News. And MarBeth is sure good news. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody. Bye, MarBeth.
Thank you.
Thank you. We want to thank MarBeth for being a guest on Marcielle Presents, and you will see more of her and me together. Please like and join.